There are moments in life when something reaches you without warning. Not because you were looking for it, not because you planned for it, but because something higher knew that if it arrived a minute sooner or a minute later, you wouldn't have been ready to hear it. And that's why this message is here, now. Not as noise, not as coincidence, but as a quiet interruption in the middle of what you've been carrying lately, because you've been carrying more than most people realize. You've been moving through your days with a weight that doesn't always have a name, a heaviness behind your eyes, a pressure in your chest, a kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from lack of sleep, but from feeling like you've had to stay strong for far too long, and you haven't really said that out loud. You've smiled, you've stayed functional, you've done what needed to be done. But deep down, you've been whispering things like, why is this happening all at once? Why does it feel like I'm losing parts of myself while trying to hold everything together? Why does it seem like I'm doing everything right, but nothing gets easier? If that's where you've been, I want you to breathe for a moment. Because you're not being punished, you're being transformed. And transformation is never gentle, not at first. You've felt the ups and downs of this earth in ways that would have broken a different version of you. You've endured seasons where you questioned your own worth, moments where silence felt louder than any answer, days where you looked up at the ceiling wondering if anyone, including God, saw how hard you were trying. You need to know this. You were never unseen, not for a second. There were moments you cried quietly, thinking no one would ever understand what you were feeling, but God saw that. There were nights you stared at the ceiling, replaying everything you lost. People, hopes, versions of yourself you thought would survive. The universe held those nights with you. And there were days you kept going, even though nothing in you felt ready to keep going. Those are the moments heaven applauded you the most. Not the victories, not the days where everything made sense, but the days you showed up anyway. You think you've been walking alone, but you haven't. Your path has been watched, guided, and protected, even during the chapters that felt like abandonment. You see, suffering on this earth has a strange way of reshaping the soul. It strips away illusions. It cracks open the heart. It forces truth into places where comfort used to live. And the truth is, you've outgrown so much. People who couldn't meet you where you were going. Old identities you tried to fit back into even though they no longer felt like home. Dreams you once chased because they made sense, not because they were meant for you. Growth doesn't always look graceful. Sometimes it looks like losing your footing. Sometimes it looks like losing people. Sometimes it looks like everything falling apart at the exact moment you were finally ready for life to be easier. But listen carefully. Things fall apart when your soul is getting ready to be rebuilt differently. Not ruined. Reshaped. There were chapters of your life that had to end. Not because you failed. Not because you weren't enough. But because the person you are becoming cannot survive in the places that once tolerated the person you used to be. You didn't lose anything essential. You're being redirected toward what's yours. And maybe you've been asking the wrong questions. Maybe instead of wondering, why did this happen to me? Your soul is quietly asking, what is this making possible for me? Because whether you realize it yet or not, things are shifting, slowly, quietly, undeniably. This season of your life, this strange, uncomfortable, disorienting season, is not a dead end. It's a doorway disguised as disappointment, a doorway disguised as delay, a doorway disguised as, "I can't take any more of this." You've been walking through a sacred transition, and sacred transitions never feel sacred while you're in them. Trust me, I know what it's like. It feels like confusion. It feels like emptiness. It feels like you're shedding layers that were woven into your identity for years. But here's what you haven't fully realized yet. You're becoming someone you prayed to become, just not in the way you imagined. Strength doesn't grow from perfect days. Wisdom doesn't grow from comfort. Faith doesn't grow from answers. Faith grows in silence. Wisdom grows in pain. Strength grows in the moments you could have broken, but didn't. Every breakdown taught you something your breakthrough requires. Every setback sharpened you for what's on its way. Every moment you thought you were being destroyed, you were being redesigned. And the reason this message has found you now, at this exact point in your life, is because you're closer than you think to the clarity you've been praying for. You're going to look back soon and say, "Oh, that's why I had to walk through that. That's why it felt like nothing was moving. That's why God didn't let certain people stay. That's why I wasn't given what I thought I wanted." Because the moment things start to click, truly click, is the moment you see that nothing was random. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was ignored. You've been guided. You still are. Even when you questioned everything, you were being carried through a timeline far more aligned than the one you tried to force. But there's something else you need to hear. Your suffering does not disqualify you. It prepares you. The universe doesn't use ease to elevate. It uses depth. It uses storms that reveal your foundations. It uses solitude that teaches you to listen. It uses loss that rewires your heart for something more real, more grounded, more aligned. And through all of it, you were watched with compassion, with love, with patience, with the kind of divine tenderness you may not fully understand yet, but you will. You haven't been failing. You've been unfolding. You haven't been punished. You've been positioned. You haven't been abandoned. You've been divinely prepared. Some of the blessings heading your way couldn't arrive until you learned to stand without collapsing at the first sign of uncertainty. Some opportunities couldn't meet you until you released the version of yourself that would have sabotaged them. Some joy couldn't enter until you let old pain leave. You are stepping into a season where what once felt heavy begins to feel lighter, where what once confused you begins to make sense, where what once hurt you becomes the very thing that empowers you. And you will not recognize yourself a few months from now. The clarity, the peace, the strength, the inner knowing, it's all rising within you right now, even on the days it doesn't feel like it. So if you're watching this while hurting, if today has felt heavy, if the week feels like it'll be endless, if the past few months have stretched you to your limit, let this message breathe with you. You're not behind. You're not lost. You're not forgotten. You're not cursed. You're not hopeless. You are in the middle of becoming. And everything you're becoming is leading you toward a life that feels more honest, more aligned, more loving, and more rooted in real purpose than anything you've experienced before. You survived what was meant to collapse you. You outgrew what was meant to trap you. You rose above what was meant to distract you. And because of that, a new chapter is opening. Not a vague someday, not a distant hope. Now, soon, here, already in motion. So I want you to place your hand over your heart for a moment. Feel your breath, feel your pulse. That is proof that your story is not done, that you are still being guided, still being shaped, still being protected. by something higher than you could ever imagine. And as we close out this message, I want you to hear this with every part of your being. If you came here hurting, let these words hold your pain for a moment. If you came here searching, let this be the moment your clarity begins. If you came here tired, let this be the breath your soul has been needing. You are not done. Your story is not done. And the part that's coming next will explain everything. If this message reached you at the exact moment you needed it, leave this declaration in the comments. I am ready for what's finally meant for me. And share this video with someone whose heart needs this reminder just as much as you did. Your timing wasn't an accident, and neither is what's coming next.